Okay, let me record. All right, so we're gonna do financial mathematics. Okay, so now what's the purpose of this topic? The purpose of this topic is, this is what I want you to understand. You learning this topic, you're not learning it just to be assessed. Learn it to understand, because it is also crucial for you to understand how this topic works in order for you to know how to handle your finances. You understand what I'm saying? So for an example, in future, you're gonna be a parent, you're gonna have kids, and at some point, you would want to save money so that you can pay fees for your kids, maybe when they get at the universities. But in order for you to be able to know how to save and all of those things, what to look at when you go to the bank. Now, this is where topics comes in. This is where this topic comes in. For example, we're gonna invest a certain amount of money into savings account. But when we invest a certain amount in a savings account, we need to take into consideration that there are certain factors or conditions that are going to act on that money that we want to save into the savings account. It's not only about saving account. We're also going to look at the decay of the amount. For an example, when something loses its value, right? So say maybe you buy a car. When you buy a car, and then after some few years, let's say maybe after 5 years, you want to sell your car maybe to a friend or maybe to a company that buys the used cars. So in order for you to sell that car, you have to pay attention to certain conditions that come along, right? So we call that the compound decay. The car will depreciate in terms of value, right? Because you've used the car and the car has been out of market for a certain period of time. You understand what I'm saying? So meaning you're gonna have to sell it as a second hand. But we as mathematicians, we're gonna put that under calculations. So this topic is nice, maybe if you want to study course that is called actuarial science. If you go to the university after next year, you want to study actuarial science. Actuarial science is all about the finances. It's all about those people who are working at the insurance companies. They actually dictate the future of the business, or whether the business is going to be profitable after some period of time or it is not going to be profitable, and what are the conditions to adjust so that the business can actually be profitable in future. So we call them the actuarial scientists. So in order for you to study that course, you're going to have to get your maths level 7. They don't play with you. Okay, so that course is mostly mathematics. You need high APS. You need to pass your matric with very good grades to study actuarial science. So actuarial science, it's all about finances and all of that. So I'm just giving you an insight where you're going to use this topic in real life. You're going to use it under that circumstances. It's a very nice topic, by the way, but you're going to learn it more deeper when you do the actuarial science. I have one of my student is studying actuarial science. Right. So here, what are we looking at? We are looking at the growth, and this side we are looking at the decay. So when you talk about the growth, obvious, you can hear it by itself. It is when something grows, right? You save 500 rand into your savings account. After 5 years, boom, you have how much? Let's say maybe 2,500 for an example. You see, that's how growth actually goes about. It earns an interest for a period of time. So here we have the simple interest. We know that how to use the simple interest. This is the equation for simple interest. Remember, let me remind you, A, it is the future value, or we can say it is the accumulated value. And then P, it is the principal amount or the present value, the value that we invest into account now. That's the principal amount, right? And therefore, N, it is the number of years, and then I, it is the interest. Guys, there is a difference between interest and interest rate. Interest, it is in decimals. Interest rate, it is in percentage. Rate, it is in percentage. You understand? That's the difference. And then ways that can help you in choosing the right formula. Sometimes you are in exam, right? And you are not told which formula to pick when you perform your calculations. So there are keywords that you can use in order for us to know which formula to use. If you see a word simple interest while you are reading your statement, just know that you're going to use this equation. If you see a word hire purchase, here in grade 11, you're gonna dwell on hire purchase. You will see again hire purchase in grade 12, where you applied with annuities, where it's a little bit challenging now. Unlike, I think we did hire purchase in grade 9, if I'm not mistaken, or 8, somewhere there. And therefore, now here we're going to talk about the compound growth, right? The compound growth, compound formula, right? Compound interest. So this is the formula, right? And then the ways that can help you in choosing the right formula. If you see the word compound interest, just know you're going to pick up this formula. If you see a word such as compounded annually, compounded quarterly, etc., just know that you're going to use this formula. And this thing of compounded annually, quarterly, etc., you're going to learn here in grade 11. And therefore, when you see a word inflation, we are looking at this equation, which is the topic that it is in grade 10, which is what we are currently doing right now with grade 10's inflation. And therefore now, and they use this formula of compound interest. And then when you see something like population growth, right? We have population decay, we have population growth. Growth meaning, by the way, if you have a look at this is exponential function, right? We did the functions, if I'm not mistaken, and by just looking at this power, this variable, this independent variable, it is raised as an exponent. So that means we are looking at the exponential graph. We are looking at the exponential function. So when you talk about the population over some period of time, over 250 years, we are looking at the exponential growth. And therefore now on the decay side, we have the simple decay, we have minus. So don't confuse these two equations, by the way. This equation, it has minus in it. This one has positive in it. The minus ones, simple interest with minus, compound interest with minus, we call them the decay. Decay is depreciation. It is decrease. It is, when something goes down. It is declining, not inclining. You understand what I'm saying? So here, when we want to use this one that looks like simple interest, we call it the simple decay. The words straight line basis. If they tell you what is the decay of 1, 2, 3 on straight line basis, just know you're going to pick up this equation over here to perform your calculations. And then when you talk about the compound decay, you see, look at n, it is raised as an exponent. And in the ways that can help us to pick this equation, we're going to look at the reducing balance. If they tell you this is the reducing balance, diminishing balance method, therefore we know that we're going to use this equation, which is called the compound decay. And therefore now, here we have different compounding periods. These are the terms, by the way, that you really need to familiarize yourselves with. Even in grade 12, you're still going to do all of this, by the way. Financial mathematics in grade 12 is a little bit challenging. But if you understand this, you're going to have less much of work when you get in grade 12. So now, different compounding periods. I'll explain this when we perform the calculations, by the way. Né? But let me show you this ways. How do they work? They say annually or hello? Okay. Hello? So that was the technical issue, so error, whatever. So I was actually explaining different compounding periods, right? So when you talk about when you read your statements, right, you will see when we do the questions, different questions, when they say to us, blah, 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 calculate whatever, whatever, compounded annually, or they say compounded yearly, just know that they are talking about compounded. Yearly means once a year. So I was explaining that, for an example, let's say you go into your savings account, right? And then you want to invest your 500 Rand for 6 years, let's say for 6 years, right? So you have to understand that when you invest a money into account, that money will earn an interest, right? A bank will quote an interest that they will give to you when you invest with them, right? So that interest that they're gonna give to you, it matters on how your 500 rand will earn that interest. So, meaning when they say compounded yearly, meaning your money will earn interest each and every year. For how many years? For 6 years. Meaning, first year, 500 rand will earn an interest, right? Second year, 500 rand will earn an interest. Third, fourth, until the final year, your 500 rand will earn an interest. And therefore, by the end of 5 years, you get your A, which is accumulated amount, which that 500 rand will now turn into 2,500 and something, maybe for an example. You understand? So when they say compounded yearly, just know your money will earn in a year. You will earn interest in a year. By December, you get the interest. December for second year, and so forth and so forth. So your n, it stays the same, or we can say we multiply your n by 1 into this equation of compound growth. We multiply n by 1, and then your I stays the same, or you can say your I, you multiply it by 1 as well. But when they say semi-annually or half-yearly, what does semi-annually or half-yearly mean? I mean, like, this is self-explanatory, right? Semi-annually means half a year, right? Meaning twice a year. Yes, it's twice a year, or you can say every 6 months. Meaning that means when you read your statement and they say blah, 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 compounded semi-annual or compounded half yearly. What does that mean? That means the money that you save into the savings account will earn an interest each and every 6 months. Again, if you save your 500 rand for 6 years, meaning how many times is your money going to earn the interest? You're going to say 2 multiply by 12 for 6 years. I agree. In a year, we have 12 months, meaning meaning your money will earn interest each and every 6 months. Meaning, let's say you invest in January, June, your money will earn interest. December, your money will earn interest. Now we move to the second year. Second year, June and December, your money will earn interest twice in a year. You understand what I mean? So these compounding periods, they actually give an insight on how the money actually earns its interest rate. So here's a mistake, you know? It was supposed to be 2 over here, by the way. Here we're supposed to have 2. Where's my pen? Okay. Here we're supposed to have 2, not 12. Okay, so here we're supposed to have 2. We multiply n by 2. Okay, and then here we divide I by 2. And then for sure monthly here it's supposed to be 12, and then it's supposed to be 12. Right. Then when they say quarterly, means when they say compounded quarterly, mean your money will earn interest 4 times per year, every 3 months. How many quarters are there in a year? We have 4 quarters, which is like term 1, term 2, term 3, and term 4. You understand? So if they say this is compounded monthly, meaning every every 3 months in a year, your money will earn an interest, meaning we multiply n by 4, we divide I by 4 because we are talking about 4 terms. And then monthly, we are talking about what? 12 times per year, every month. We multiply n by 12, we divide I by 12. So that's how it actually works. I'll re-explain this with much more details when we perform the calculations so that everything that I'm saying right now will make sense to you. And then here we have what you call the effective and the nominal interest rate. In simple terms, when you talk about the effective rate, we are talking about when you go to a savings account, you save money. The rate, the interest rate that your money will get, it is the quoted one. Effective rate, it is effective. It is the actual rate that your money gets. But the nominal one, it is the one that is quoted by the bank. That is not what your money is actually getting. You understand? So meaning the difference between the effective rate and the nominal rate is that the effective, it is the most effective one. That's why we say effective rate is compounded annually and it is calculated once a year. You have to understand that we use the effective rate only on compounded annually. But these kind of questions of effective rate, they are not that annoying, you know. They're just going to say convert effective rate to nominal rate. They will give you nominal rate and they say calculate effective rate. Or they give you effective rate and they say calculate the nominal rate. Simple as that. You don't have to panic and ask yourself, how am I going to do 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So basically, that's how this one actually works. So in this case, what does M? Sometimes some other equations, they have N, just like this N. You see this N over here. Instead of M, they have N. So N or M, it is the different compounding periods. It's the same as number of years and all of those things. Okay. All right, and then how to determine the interest? We say accumulated minus the principal, but we'll look at that through the questions. So do we have the question? Is there anything that you want to ask?
No.
All right. So I want us to go through these questions. So financial math will make sense when you do more questions more than anything, if I have to be honest with you. And if you pay attention and you ask me where you really do not understand. So now, I love this topic, but I don't love it. It's just nice, but yeah. So let's start with the first question, right? These are the final answers, by the way, okay? So having a look at the first question, we have Tompo, right? Tompo deposited 5,000 Rand into a savings account at a bank for 5 years, right? The interest paid is 15% per annum. Calculate the value of investment at the end of 5-year period if interest is calculated as simple interest. 1.2, interest is calculated as compound interest, which is compounded annually. So what I want to do is I want to send these questions, but for sure you guys are using your phones, but it's fine. Let me just send these questions to you via WhatsApp. Okay. Okay. Send. Yep. I sent them. Right. So I'm going to use this white paper to write. Okay. What's happening now? Yeah, I'm going to use this to write to solve the questions while I'm referring this side. So now let's start. We have Trump, right, who deposited this amount. So you have to understand, what is this amount? What is this 5,000 Rand? We call it the principal amount. It is the amount that you invest. It is the present value. It's the principal. So in this case, to answer question number 1, let's write the information about number 1. We have the principal amount, right, which is 5,000 Rand. This is the principal amount, which is 5,000 Rand by Trump. And then again, we are told that the Hlompa is taking this into savings account at the bank for how long? For 5 years, right? Hlompa will go at the bank and go at the ABSA there and give them 5,000 Rand for 5 years. This is what Hlompa will do. And therefore, bank will say to Hlompa, we're going to give you the interest paid to this 5,000 Rand is going to be 15% per annum. Oh, they gave Tompo the rate, it is 15%. This is the rate, guys. It's not I. It's not I. How to get I? It's simple. We say I, which is the interest. This is the interest. This is the interest rate. Rate, it is denoted by the percentage. So the interest, we say R divided by 100. So in this case, our R, it's 1,500. Now we have the rate, which is 0,15. We have I, it's 0,15. So the interest paid is 15% per annum. Calculate the value of the investment at the end of 5-year period. Oh, by the way, we see Hori Shompo went into a bank account, and then first year, I'll take this as T0. Klompo invested 5,000 Rand. I see there is 5,000 Rand. For how long? For a period of 5 years. So meaning when she invests this, The amount will earn an interest of 0.15 for how long? For actually 5 years. So we want to know what is the future value. We take this value here to the end of our timeline, which is 5 years, meaning the amount will be there in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, until 5 years, while it is busy earning this interest rate of 0.15. But it's important to know, how is this amount earning an interest? The interest, it is calculated as simple interest, right? Let's see. So that means we want to calculate the accumulated amount. So which formula are we going to use? Simple interest is simple, right? 1.1. So we're going to say A is equals to P1 plus I multiplied by N. In this case, our principal, which is the value, the present value, we have 5,000 rand. One, and then our interest, it's 0.15. And then for how long? For 5 years. Simple interest. Simple interest doesn't have compounding periods. It doesn't have quarterly, annual. Simple interest doesn't have those things. So it is straightforward and it's easy as ABC, like how you learned it in grade 10 and 9 and 8. So we take our 5,000 rand, not 500. We take our 5,000 rand, say 0.15 multiplied by 5. Then we get on our calculator 8,750. This will be our final answer. So it is straightforward and it's simple, which is this amount over here. So on simple interest. Now, 1.2, let's hear it. Under the very same conditions, where Hlompo deposited this amount, now we need to calculate the value of investment at the end of 5-year period. If interest, you see this interest, 15%, is now calculated as compound interest, which is compounded annually. You see now the compounding periods that I was talking about, the compounding periods. So when they say compounded annually, or they say to you compounded yearly, so your N will stay the same. So that means which formula are we actually going to use? We're going to use the compound interest because this is a compound interest. So that means the formula that we're going to use is going to be A is equals to P1 plus I to the power of N. So we do nothing to our I and N because they said compounded annually. You understand what I'm saying? So let's see then how much will be the accumulated amount by the end of 5 years. So the principal amount that Hlompo deposited into ABSA, it was 5,000 rand, right? 1 plus the rate is still the same, which is 0.15. For how long? For a period of 5 years. Therefore, we simply punch this on our calculator. Let me erase this one that I had to the power of how much? 5 years, 5. And therefore, to 2 decimal places, I get 10.05, 6.785. So to 2 decimal places is gonna be 79 cents, which is this answer over here. Interest is calculated as compound. Interest is calculated as compound interest, which is compounded annually. Do we understand, guys?
Yes.
Not that you see how to solve. Do you understand it? Like, does it make sense to you?
Yes.
All right. So that's how we go about for number 1. Right? It's simple, obvious, we are studying. By the way, this pamphlet is grade 12's pamphlet. Don't worry, it's fine. This is a revision for grade 10 and 11 before you start with grade 12's work. So, but it's still the same thing. So I don't know is my financial pamphlet a grade 12, but 11 mean. That's why I'm using this one. But it's fine. Financial maths doesn't even have a lot of marks in exam. But it matters that you understand it. Now we move to number 2, right? Now let's see what's happening then with number 2. Now number 2, it says to us, Katleho invests 500 Rand for 5 years. Katleho, at 12.5% per annum, compounded annually. Calculate how much money he will have after 5 years. It's simple, and this question, it is straightforward, right? So how do we go about for this question? Now we are working with Katleho here, right? So now this is number 2. So number 2, let's see. We have Katleho, right? Let me open up my timeline. If I want to use my timeline, it is still fine, but it's not necessary to use it. Just using it. I'll use it on difficult questions, not this one. So Katleo invest 500 Rand. This is the principal amount, right? So in this case, our principal amount will be 500 Rand. I will use timeline where like on continuous investments, withdrawals, change of interest rates. That's where I would use the timeline. Okay. So here's not that necessary, Shane. So Katleo invest 500 Rand for 5 years, right? For how long? And for 5 years. This is Katleo, right? Right. So at 12, bank decide to give, if I agree, you know, like when you go to the bank and invest money, you are actually borrowing the bank your money because you don't have money when you take your money to the bank. Just know that this 500 Rand, it is no longer there for Katleo. They use it, they give it to the next person, and then they make interest, and then, you know, bank makes money with your money. That's what banks do. It uses your money to make its money. I mean, how does bank pay its staff? How does a bank, you know, you have to understand, it uses your money to make its money. They trade. You see this Forex thing? Yeah, that's what banks do. They trade with your money. I'm sure you didn't know that. So a bank, okay, sharp. And then they decide to give Katlego 12.5% at the bank, right? Calculate how much money he will have after 5 years. It's simple. Which formula to use? Compound interest. Compounded, the word compounded, it simply means we're going to use compound. And by the way, there's no way that we have compounding period and we do not use compound interest. When you see compounding period, just know you use your compound interest, unless if you're in grade 12, where you have to use your annuity equations. So the rate that they decided to give Katlego, it's 12.5%, right? So we for 5 years. So we want to calculate the accumulated amount at the end of 5 years. So remember our I in this case, I don't have to write R divided by 100. You can just say 0.125, which is just like how I showed you over here, how I got it over here, right? R divided by 100, the rate divided by 100. 12.5 divided by 100, you'll get this. So we're going to have to say A is equals to P1 plus I to the power of N. And then the principal amount in this case is 500 Rand. 1 plus I in this case. By the way, it's important before you write I and your N, it's important to understand the compounding period. They said compounded annually. So for the fact that it is compounded annually, it stays the same. We don't change it. So it's going to be the same as 0.125 multiplied by 0.125. And therefore, when you punch this on our calculator, we have 500. 1 plus 0.125 to the power of, what am I doing? 500. You can give me the answer if you have it. 0.125 to the power of 0.125. How much do you get there, guys?
507.
Oh, I thought this was wrong. 507,
42.
42 cents. Let's see if it is the same amount. What did I do here? 5 years. Did I put 5 years? Man. Guys, can't you see what I did here? I see it doesn't make sense. The number of years is 5, right? You didn't check. You didn't see that. Remember, here it's 5, the number of years. It's n. So I repeated that thing twice. So how much do you get now?
901.
901. Okay, we get 901, comma 0.
0.
Is it corresponding? Yes, it's corresponding with that one over there. You see? So that's how we go about for this. So at least here we have the final answers. My teacher made it simple for us when I was in high school. So at least you have final, but the question is, how are you going to get to your final answer? Okay. All right, so now we're gonna continue. Where? I'll do it, my friend. Sharp, sharp. Man, I'm in class now. I'll call you when I'm done, eh? So after how long? What do you want to ask? Situation one. Okay, no, I'll call you because I'm still on online classes. I thought you want to ask about the modules. Like after how long? I'll call you. Sharp, sharp. Oh my God, let me put this phone on silent. It's disturbing my peace and my mind and my soul and my body and everybody. Right. Sorry about that, guys. Yo. So 2.2, it says to us, calculate how much interest this money will accumulate over 5 years. So we want the interest this money will make, right, over 5 years. So 2.1, so we want to solve 2.2. To calculate the interest, you say your accumulated amount, subtract your principal, right? So we want to know how much is the interest that this money made. It's simple. Mashonisa, let's see, how much did you make? So you're gonna say 901,02, subtract the principal amount, which was 500 rand. So what does Katleho earn out of above his 500 rand? So you're gonna say 901. Right, simple. This thing is 401,02 rand. You see, so meaning Katleho got an interest of 401 and 0,2. Now, this is where this equation comes in. That A minus P, the above formula, except of an effective rate or provided blah, 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 this one, it helps you determine the interest, right? So this is what we use over here to determine the interest. The man that got the man that he got for free, like extra, right? Because he saved this month. That's unfair. Imagine, for 5 years, guys, hi. Would you save 500 rand for 5 years and the interest of 401? But I at least is something, but 500. Right. Okay, anyways, that will be up to you guys. So do we understand number 2?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I think I'm going to give you more lessons. It will depend. I will see. Maybe I'll give you 1 hour and 30 minutes or 2 hours, but we'll see. But we understand this question, right? Number 2.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.